Hey everybody, it's Nick Olson, Chupacabra Offroad. Welcome back. Today's video is about rebuilding my Razor Turbo S. If you guys have watched the channel, you probably know that I took this thing to Moab, had a little tumble in the devil's hot tub trying to go for the glory. And that led to a fair bit of damage, and we wanted to get it all churched back up because we will be selling it here and buying something different, which we'll talk about in the future. So I want to kind of walk you guys through what we had to do to get the car sorted, get it back to the condition it was in before we took it to Moab, so she's running better than ever. So the first thing you're going to notice on the car is that my roof rack is no longer on the vehicle. Now, when I tipped the Razor upside down, luckily that roof rack took a lot of the damage, and it's one of the first things I took off when I got home. The roof rack was tweaked and it was bent, and I've decided to not purchase a new one or try to have it repaired. Basically, you know, I love the look of it. You know, when I did my longer trips, I just didn't really use it, and it weighs quite a bit. So after removing it from the vehicle, I decided I'm not going to replace it. If the person that does buy this wants to put a roof rack on it, Madigan sells one. They actually have a newer version than what I had, which is a lot lighter because they built it out of aluminum. And having a four-seater and having the extra space, anytime I did one of these big long trips, I had plenty of room for me and one co-rider, even if we had to pack all of our clothes. So I decided to no longer keep it moving with the roof rack unless I move on to like a two-seat vehicle or something where I really have to have the space. So that's the first thing you'll notice. Luckily, we didn't do any cage damage other than tweaking the light bar mounts, as well as tweaking the rear wing slash rear light bar mounts. So we had to go and get some of these things replaced, and unfortunately it wasn't as simple as just calling up Madigan Motorsports in Temecula, California and having them send it our way. Ended up having to take the vehicle out there to California, and while I was on a family vacation, they completed the repairs. So what they did was they cut off the old light bar mounts, installed some new ones. They also replaced the parts on the wing and got them powder coated to match while I was down there on my trip to San Diego. So thanks to Madigan Motorsports. Those guys make really good products at a really good price. One other Madigan part that did have a little bit of damage was the rear spare tire carrier. Now, I needed that spare tire carrier because right after I got back from Moab, we did a Baja trip, and I needed, of course, to have my spare tires. So luckily Madigan did have a new one of those in stock. They shipped it out to me. I was able to install it, and they did improve the design a little bit. It's a little bit beefier than it used to be because they said some customers are wanting to run bigger, heavier 35-inch tires, which it barely clears. So thanks to those guys for getting it out to me, and all those parts together were only the real fabrication needs to get that part of the Razor clean back up, back in tip-top shape. Again, make those changes, we get everything set up, we still had to do some touch-up paint, and after calling, this is the stock Polaris titanium, which is painted to match. It's a two-tone. We did some cross-referencing, and a CX color for Ford is a dark shadow gray. I was able to find this at my local Sherwin-Williams and buy a can. It's a can of the paint along with the flat coat on the top of it to get it as close as we can versus having to take the whole cage off and get the whole thing repowder coated. So one other piece that we're gonna have to restore to its glory is our prototype mirrors, which are gonna be launching here soon. You can see they've got some scratches, but if you watch the in-car camera, yeah, these things survived the hot tub. The glass didn't crack. They just rotated down out of the way. These are some of our first prototypes we've been testing for quite a while. So we're going to switch these out with a brand new production set that we've got here. So the buyer of this vehicle is going to get the brand new updated set, which are even a little bit cleaner than what we've got here. But really happy that they survived the hot tub. Didn't bend. They're perfect operating conditions. That's really cool. So you're gonna be seeing that crash highlight video talking about how tough and durable these mirrors are. We've been testing them racing. Now I put them through the works. There's some legit rock crawling on the hot tub. So really cool to see that coming to fruition. And yeah, this is pretty costly to put this car back together, but hopefully you guys will support our brand by buying some of these mirrors to help cover the costs. That let you know we did some real R&D on these things for you. Now, after I had my tip over, we were still able, luckily, to drive this thing right out of Hell's Revenge back to the trailer, and then the whole next day we did some wheeling with it. So the vehicle was in good operating condition. One thing we noticed on our second day of riding there was that the right rear hub had a bend in it. My buddy Wes, who knows it really well, being a racer, he was following me. He suspected it was a hub. We took all the parts off, we inspected it, installed a brand new hub, and he ended up being right. So we installed a brand new Polaris rear hub, which I had one from my race car, and the vehicle worked just fine. So after checking those things out, we had this car ready to go and do a Baja trip right after. We were able to do 500 miles, basically trouble-free. We did have one small issue when we were down in Baja, and that is that we had a leak in the front differential. I'm not sure what caused this. This has about 2,800 miles on it now. I didn't really hit anything that hard. It could just be wear and tear. It could have been something else, but we noticed a leak, so I ended up removing the front differential and buying a rebuild kit, and Brent from American Engineering went ahead, took it all apart, and rechanged the bearings and the seals, put it back together with, of course, some new fluids. The front diff on the Turbo S is very difficult, so hopefully you guys don't have to go through that. We had to remove the entire steering rack. It was definitely a pain, but now we've got it beefed up with better bearings and better seals than it came with from the factory. So one other upgrade I wanted to make, probably one of the reasons why I had the crash is my tires were pretty worn. I'd gotten quite a few miles out of the Tensor DS33s, about 2,000 to 2,400. They were pretty smoked, and I ended up putting on a brand new set of those. I really like this tire. I like the performance of it. I haven't had any flats. I love the additional ground clearance, and decided to keep it going with the Tensor 33, so I had to throw on a fresh set of those. So that's pretty much everything that was mechanical and structural. From there, it was just a lot of cosmetic stuff. So when I was out in California having Madigan make the changes, of course I swung by Coin Power Sports in El Centro and picked up some new plastics, ordered all the parts I needed. The plastics did have a little scratches. They weren't that bad. I probably could have put a wrap over it and been okay, but you know, I wanted the plastics to be clean. Like I said, I wanted to return this thing in the condition it was or better. So we replaced the rear panel. The back box here did have a crack in it, so we replaced that. We replaced the fender. We had to replace the front fascia and the other front fender along with the front hood scoop. So as you can see here, this is all brand new. It matches up perfect, of course, because it's all factory OEM colors, and it's just a final piece, which, as you guys know, the OEM plastics are not inexpensive, but I could have probably got a wrap for almost the same amount of money, but I wanted it to be clean. I wanted it to be dialed. Whoever buys this car is going to be happy. I really love this Turbo S. I've had so much fun with it, from rock crawling to Baja, the dunes, anything in between. Still haven't broken a belt on it. Still working really well. We just did the wheel bearings. If you saw our content on the channel, clean out the clutches. This thing works great. So comment below if you guys got a tip over. How was it getting that thing back to perfect running order? I didn't go the insurance route. I'm sure that would have kind of slowed things down. I'm sure a lot of you guys have some war stories, so share them below in the comments. I like to hear all that type of stuff. If you guys like the content, go ahead, like and subscribe, and we've got a lot more coming your way.